What's up everybody, D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be doing another Skull Island trailer breakdown. That's kind of another. First one was a teaser, we'll count it. That's right, today we're going to be discussing the new trailer for the upcoming animated series Skull Island, the next installment of the Monsterverse coming to Netflix by the end of this month actually. And we're going to be talking about that juicy trailer because I really like it. My voice is a little flat today, I'm not sure why, but I'm gonna roll with it and we're gonna get on with it. Okay, so this series is coming out Thursday, June 22nd, and there should be about 8 30-ish minute episodes. The series is set in the early 90s as to not conflict with Skull Island, The Birth of Kong. I'm assuming it's gonna be set around like 1993-ish. That also put it on a nice anniversary from the original trip to Skull Island 20 years later in canon. The main cast includes Mike, who's the red shirt guy, Charlie, who's the younger boy, I don't think they're brothers anymore, Annie, the Gia-esque character, Cap, the Reed Richards looking dude, and Irene, the leader woman. We have a new plot synopsis for the show that gives us a bit more information to bite onto. Skull Island follows a group of compassionate adventurers who come to the rescue of Annie, who is lost at sea. But little do they know that their act of heroism will lead them to the perilous and mysterious Skull Island. This enigmatic destination is teeming with extraordinary creatures and formidable monsters, including the legendary Kong himself. That all sounds good to me. I like that. I like the setup so far. I like the premise. I like that we know that Annie is a character who seems to be missing, and then they're going on the look for her. It gives us a bit of context as to why she's maybe an outsider with the group and maybe what they want with her. It just gave me a bit more to bite onto as I went through the theories throughout this trailer. But I would like to say I really liked this trailer. I liked the vibe. I liked the energy. I liked the music. I liked the animation. I still don't like the Kong design, and I still don't like the art style, but I'm going to overall be more positive in this video than I've been previously because there's a lot more that I like here. However, I do still have some critiques that I'll point out as we go, but for the most part, I'm really happy with what we've got, and I'm super excited to see the show. Alright, it is trailer time. Getting into the trailer. We start out with our characters arriving on the island after a shipwreck, and I really like this shot with the coffee mug in the foreground. However, there is very weird compositing going on in the background. My guy does not look like he's actually there. He is running on water right now. We see fantastic settings and environments and a really good camera spin here as Charlie questions Mike about where they are, only to reveal they are in the footprint now holding on to each other. This is the iconic promo image they released so long ago now in action. Some people said it wasn't going to be in this show, but look at it, it's right there. Seemingly the next morning, although they are dressed differently, maybe because it's a lot hotter in the daytime, they are attacked by giant crabs and we see a lot of really cool action. Mike realizes they're stranded on Skull Island, and I don't really know why that's a big thing. Like, I get that later he'll say he overheard people talking about Skull Island, but who blabbed about it to them in the first place? This dude who lays down the map? How did he find out about it? Who knows about Skull Island outside of Monarch unless somebody from Monarch just did a pretty bad job at keeping secrets? Or maybe they're going to tie it into the 2017 film and be like, one of the soldiers who was on the island blabbed. I don't know. I'm interested to know how they found out about it. I have some theories that we'll talk about later, but yeah, I'm interested about it. Okay, so the two of them are lost in the woods, which is a very classic King Kong setup, and a big dodo bird looking thing runs past the camera, which is again very King Kong, very reminiscent of the 2005 film. They are then attacked by the bird, some snakes, and a giant crocodile. I like the way the crocodile moves here. He now moves much better than the way he did in the teaser. He's a lot less humanoid. I don't know if I should be looking for Easter eggs and everything, but I'll do it for the sake of doing it. The bird could be a reference to the fact that Kong has fought a couple of flying creatures in the past, like pterodactyls, and of course they're not really doing dinosaurs in this show. They're doing more monstrous creatures, so could be a fill-in for that. Kong has tangoed with a few snakes before, and the crocodile is kind of a Godzilla-esque, T-Rex-esque character. There's this really fun scene of the guys being pulled down the river while the attack happens, and this feels like it could be a great theme park ride. There you go. Here's another idea for the legendary theme park opening up. But I did notice Mike does disappear for a frame, and it's really awkward. A couple times in the trailer, things like that will happen, and I don't love it. Makes it look cheaper than it needs to. Like, I feel like this show had a pretty decent budget, so I don't know how little issues like that occur. The alligator is about to snatch them up when Kong grabs it. And Kong's hand looks super duper small here. Like, it should be enormous compared to what it looks like. Although, I do love that there's the fantastic detail here of when he pulls his hand up out of the water, he pulls a bunch of the water up with it so the boys get sucked into the current. That's a good touch. Kong, now looking much more like his Monsterverse height, eats the gator or crocodile or whatever in a very King Kong Lives-esque moment. This also reminds me of the way he grabs Mason Weaver out of the water at the end of Kong Skull Island. And this is also a reference to how Kong is always so hungry in the Monsterverse. He's always hungry. He's always eating. He's eating squids and fish and even the war bats. Nobody is safe from this boy's appetite. While Kong does have the right stance and posture and everything here, he's still rocking the black fur for some reason, and I just don't get it. I don't get how that could have happened. The trend has continued as Annie, maybe a reference to Andero, calls Kong a big monkey, marking the third time that this has happened in the Monsterverse. One time per appearance, baby. It looks like she might be saving the boys and has already befriended the big bulldog lion, so I'm assuming that this is going to be around the end of the first episode, Kong's big first appearance at the end of the first episode. I don't actually think Kong's going to do a lot in this show. I think he'll kind of pop up every now and then. He'll probably be featured more closer towards the end of the show, much like how Godzilla Singular Point didn't really feature Godzilla until the end of that show as well. Kong's probably not going to pop up much until the last few episodes. There's some fantastic jungle scenery here, which is really good, and that seems to be this show's strength. Its strength seems to be backgrounds and settings. They do a great job with that. Annie appears to have integrated here and maybe has even made some friends with the iwi as she's wearing some leaves and has a spear, so she may have been here before. Maybe this is why they go. They're looking for her. They get some sort of distress call from her. They were looking for Skull Island, maybe after talking to her. Maybe she mentioned it, and maybe that's what pointed them to the island in the first place, and they wanted to go back. Maybe they don't trust her, or she didn't want to go back and she was being fussy, which is why they handcuffed her in the first place. What all these theories don't explain is why Mike is blaming himself for this. He mentions that they came here because of an old GI, an old army man, and some stupid map. I don't know where the old army guy got this stupid map. That man apparently tried to warn them, but they ignored him. Maybe they ignored him at the request of Mike, because maybe Mike thought that might be where Annie was. Maybe he wanted to go find her. I'm not sure. We see the adventurers walking through the woods armed with AKs, kind of calling back to that Kong Skull Island moment where Cole had the AK. A lot of the soldier in the woods stuff is similar to the movie Kong Skull Island, which is neat. We also see the accident that caused them to get shipwrecked during a storm, maybe the storm that surrounds Skull Island. Maybe they sailed into it. Cap, Mike, and Charlie are all on board to witness a massive blue tentacle trample across the ship. This is a great shot. I love the perspective. I love the lightning. It's super cool. It seems to sink them or maybe even split them in half. I'm not totally sure. It also sends Cap overboard in a great motion shot. The ship is named Once Upon a Maritime, which is a reference to many fairy tales that open with Once Upon a Time, and it plays into the whole fantasy genre that King Kong operates in the first place. It's also one of the first songs on the soundtrack for this show. This is also a very War of the Gargantuas-esque moment, getting attacked by an octopus on a boat. The boys are confronted by some soldiers who are looking for Annie, maybe because she's got inside knowledge on how to survive Skull Island after being lost here, I'm not sure. She attacks the men in a pretty cool action sequence that does have some blood and some pretty great action choreography. So I'm hoping that this show will be geared towards a more middle ground audience than just for kids. We also get a taste of the humor in this show, and I can already tell it won't be for some. I rather enjoyed it. I thought all the jokes in this trailer landed. Also, Kong Skull Island was a movie with a lot of humor in it anyways, so that makes sense to me. The titles welcome us back to Skull Island, letting us know that this very much is a continuation of that 1973 story. Over the title proclaiming his island, we see tentacles in the foreground and Kong on the mountain in the background. Maybe this is because the two are opposing forces in this show and the his island is being contested, could go to either one of them. I do like the spiky shoreline here, but I do hope that this show, including that large mountain in the background, pays attention to the geography of Skull Island from the movie already. I don't want it to be like a brand new island. I want to see familiar locations, and I want it to make sense in the context of that movie. The adults are attacked in the giant red grass field by a phoenix, and this is where I think the two casts merge, the younger characters and the older characters, as we have seen Annie attacks them and maybe is trying to save some of them here. There's also a voiceover here, someone's looking for his son, and at first I thought that might be Cap, because Cap is the older man on the poster, I'm pretty sure. Maybe they're two different guys with the same beard. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're different. I don't know. But I'm not too sure because Cap also talks right afterward and he has a totally different voice.
I'm looking for my son, and you're looking for the girl, right?
The boy, Charlie, is looking for his dad, however, so whoever they're talking to, it's this kid's dad. The dog is also a lot spikier than I thought he would be, making him not so fun to ride, I have a feeling. Cap questions Irene on if she's looking for the girl, because I guess everybody wants her for some reason. I think this plays into a scene later where they're kind of at odds. We're then warned that her best friend is the giant man-eating dog, who we see has bright blue eyes and charges at Annie and then throws her up into the air by his mouth, woof, and then catches her on his back. So yeah, she's definitely been here a while if she's already learned that pretty impressive trick. Wow. And I don't know, I don't think this guy's gonna eat any men in the show. I think that would make him a little too unsympathetic, so I think you guys are just exaggerating. She then attacks the soldiers and the big dog in the red grass fields, sends some of them flying. Again, I don't think she'll kill anyone here, but I do think she is trying to disarm them. Maybe Annie is trying to protect them from a monster. She does claim to be the monster, which is pretty cringe. She's not like other girls. But yeah, maybe she's trying to disarm them. She just doesn't want to get shot while she's trying to protect them. I'm not sure. Mustache here is attacked by a phoenix in the red grass. This phoenix was either drawn here by the chaos that Annie's causing, or maybe Annie is trying to save them from this chaos. Can't really tell. This could also be two different scenes. Either way, rest in peace, Mr. Mustache. I like the detail of his glasses flying off. That's a good little touch. And the wind appears to knock over a few of our adventurers. The phoenix could be after the chug jugs that the guys have on their backs. Maybe those contain the eggs. Maybe they stole some phoenix eggs and this thing wants them back. But I don't think they're with Apex or anything. That was a theory I almost put in my last video. I cut it out of my last video and then actually somebody commented it, so I'm bringing it up again. I don't think it's Apex because Apex didn't know about the Titans until Godzilla showed up in 2014. But what I do know is that the guy getting snatched up and taken off into the air is very similar to Kong Skull Island as well, where they do that. Kong squares off against some reptilian monsters on a cliff. We'll talk a bit more about that later. They maybe have been drawn from underneath the island. Maybe they're trying to feed on something. We do see them eating here. But yeah, I think these little lizard creatures might be kind of deep dwellers. An island native is cornered by a seemingly very large skull crawler, maybe the size of the big one, although nowhere near the size of the current Kong. I think it's actually a little smaller than the big one, but it does feature similar spikes on its shoulders and back. Kong appears here, maybe in the same scene, beating his chest in response, and he might be going to save this girl. Overall, I love the new skull crawler design. I love its blue eyes, and I also think that the sound waves coming off Kong's chest is really cool. It gives him a lot of power and energy. This whole sequence is very Kong Skull Island to me, and I like it a lot. The lighting here now adds to the darker fur Kong has, making this the only time that the trailer truly feels like it features the Monsterverse Kong. As the boys run through the woods, they pass a dragonfly, much like the dragonfly that introduces us to Skull Island in the 2017 film. The big crocodile then eats a soldier here, and this could be their introductions to the horror of the islands as well. They could be running from the big crabs, running through the woods where they pass that dragonfly, and eventually here where the big crocodile eats this guy and then comes for them. There is a whole stack of creepy devilish creatures with hyena-esque tails. I think they are incredible. I love the visual here. I'm also thinking they're going to be from the Hollow Earth, and I'm thinking they're gonna be in this big stack because they're trying to eat whatever's at the bottom of it. I think they're all trying to get at the same thing. The island native appears to rescue Charlie, and I like that she has the Skull Island paintings on her. She does, however, feature blue paintings, which, according to the concept art for the 2017 film, would indicate she lives with a different tribe of iwi. Maybe that's not the case, because of course the elder iwi also wear blue, and they didn't really follow up on that idea in the movie, but it could be interesting if the reason that we don't have as many crossovers with this and the birth of Kong and the iwi we know is because these guys don't meet the iwi we know. They don't go inside the wall. They meet another tribe of villagers. That'd be cool. It'd flesh out Skull Island a little more as well. Make it a little more unique. Separate it from the other King Kong films, which only have one tribe of natives. It'd be a good thing. I'd like that idea if they did it. Some thinner, stringier tendrils that are also red snag Mr. America and probably kill him here. These might be connected to the true big bad of the show, as I'll talk about later, but I like them. I'm thinking maybe it's the blue guy. Maybe we're led to believe they're two different guys, but they're the same. I think they're going to be the same. I'm very confident they're the same guy. An intense action shot shows Kong in the desert surrounded by massive ribs or something from a far larger beast than anything we've seen in the Monsterverse before. To leave ribs this big behind, that thing's got to be enormous. He splits it in half and throws it like a spear, which is awesome. Although again, the perspective changing here as Kong is getting sucked into the background, he doesn't scale perfectly well with the zoom out. But I do like this shot a lot. Very dynamic, very cool. This invokes the imagery of Kong fighting with a tree from the 2017 film, him using makeshift weapons, but it also invokes the imagery of him using the tree in the 2021 film to spear the Skull Island dome. It's actually a very similar, if not more action-packed version of that shot. Cap is saved from a giant crystal bug, which is about to eat him. I cannot wait to see that full thing's design revealed. It looks awesome. Kong does a big ground pound, which is something similar to what he does in Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm thinking he's going to do it on someone here, like he does to the Warbat. And he holds up a compass or a pocket watch or a pocket photo of some kind. It's rusted and old, so she either found it here and this is what they're looking for, or maybe she's trying to prove to someone or something that she knows someone or something. I don't know. That's very vague, but I definitely covered my bases. There's a cool match cut, which I wouldn't really mention normally, but I like that it's got a Skullcrawler and Kong. I just like the Skullcrawler. But in match cuts from the Skullcrawler to Kong roaring at the native, I don't know why he'd pick a fight with her, but we did see that shot in the teaser. A fight that I'm not looking forward to is the dog versus the Hell Critters. Maybe I'll really like the dog in the show, but for right now, I'm not sold on it. We actually see the shot where Kong actually grabs the bone and splits it in half. That's right before he throws it, and then he poses with it like a warrior, which is really cool. Dog roars at Irene, who in a separate shot pulls a gun on Cap in their wooded conversation. This is what I was saying earlier. Maybe he's the human villain of the show, and this is when Irene trades teams because his obsession with the girl is going to get them killed. It's also kind of a similar position to the way Emma turns on Jonah in Godzilla King of the Monsters, but it also reminds me of the way Marlowe stands against Packard in Kong Skull Island. Mike says, "We need to get off this island." Kind of like how the Kong Skull Island taglines were, "We don't belong here and we've got to get out of this place." Kind of reminds me of both those lines. This show's actual textual tagline is, "Can you survive?" which implies to me that this show will have a pretty high body count, which is awesome. Again, I'm hoping for a more wider audience than just kids here. Kong absolutely obliterates this little red lizard boy, who must be a chameleon of some kind because he changes color on impact, which is a lot of fun. Kong, while looking real thin here, does a big leap away from where he threw those bones earlier, and now he's jumping onto a mountain. I'm thinking he's chasing after something flying, like the Phoenix or some other monster like that. He then goes in for a very Godzilla vs. Kong-esque flying pound. Awesome. Just put an axe in his hand and it's the same shot. Irene is found inside the mouth of something red with tendrils, maybe a smaller version of the big bad's mouth, I'm not sure. Maybe a Skullcrawler's mouth, I don't know. Kong does a supersonic roar in front of a massive temple that reminds me of the 2005 film, the Hollow Earth Godzilla temple, and the Hollow Earth Kong temple all at once. It's also very similar imagery to some of the stuff we see in the 90s Kong cartoon. This could be Kong's secret home on the island, away from his big mountain hideout, and this could be where they introduce the planned throne from Kong Skull Island, which was eventually reworked for Godzilla vs. Kong, but maybe they want to reuse that island temple idea that Jordan Vogt Roberts had for that movie. I love the title card with the shifting symbols that include both Kong and a Skullcrawler, and I'm a big fan of the final joke here because I really like it when shows lead up to a really big punchline only for it to be really lame. I think that's a very funny style of humor, and it also reminds me of something that Hank Marlowe would say, so I'm here for it. I also like the consistent eye bags under Mike's eyes. That's a good touch. And then here's where we get into the big stuff right at the end. We see the red tendril sticking out from where the blue octopus thing is. This makes me think that we're gonna get a new Kraken-esque Titan. Maybe something a little similar to Nakika? I'm not sure. I'm thinking it's gonna be a little more octopus-esque. But I like the idea that the tendrils might be coming from its mouth, like graboid tendrils, like the way those do, whereas the big blue tentacles could be its arms and legs. Kong finds himself trapped in the water doing a big roar in what I'm assuming is gonna be the final battle of this show. Kong's previous water battles include fighting the big snake from King Kong Escapes and Godzilla, of course, which he's done twice. So I'd say all things considered, he does pretty alright in the water. I think he's got this. This shot also kind of reminds me of how Ebra Horror of the Deep was supposed to star King Kong and how he was supposed to fight a sea monster in that movie, and so in some ways we're now making good on that promise. Also, if Kong could be King of Atlantis once, then I'm sure he'll be alright here. Final note is that I thought the song in this trailer was really awesome. It sings about the monster inside my head, which is of course fun because we're dealing with big monsters. It's good stuff. I'm thinking that this song could be written for the show because I couldn't really find it anywhere. It could be played in the final episode or over the end credits maybe. Which brings me to my last point, which is that if this show was set in the early 90s, I hope we get a late 80s, early 90s soundtrack for it, the way that Kong Skull Island featured a 60s and 70s soundtrack. And of course the way that like Transformers Rise of the Beasts featured a 90s soundtrack. It's just good stuff. It would make this feel consistent with the Kong of the Monsterverse, who's always got a nice soundtrack to him, and it's always fun when they do that. I don't think they will, just because that brings up the budget quite a bit, but maybe they just wrote this song for the show, or maybe this isn't. If it isn't from the show, comment down below and let me know what that song is called, because I'd love to check it out. And that's all my thoughts on the trailer for Skull Island, guys. Overall, I'm pretty excited about it. I thought the trailer was really good. I had a very good time watching it. What did you guys think about the trailer? Let me know down below. Did it sway anybody? Did anybody join the Skull Island team, or did it maybe dissuade some people from watching the show? I'm not sure. I know the interest in the show seems generally pretty low, which is what it is, but I hope it's good. All right, I want to give a huge thank you to all my patrons on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for your support. It really means a lot to me. If you want to support the Patreon, you can using the link in the description below, or you can get early access to content, access to the Discord community, and more, baby. And thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man, out.